Hello everyone, this is Graeme Anderson from Four Corners of the Board, and today I'm going to be having a look at Rites of Cthulhu. Now, I do enjoy the Cthulhu mythos, as does my wife, so I'm always on the lookout for a good, quick Cthulhu game. When I saw this was actually 6 mini-games in one box, I must admit I was a little hesitant. Because when I play video games that are mini-games, there's often 1 or 2 good games and the rest are mediocre. But I don't think I've ever seen this concept in a board game, so I was eager to see how well this game works. So, is Rites of Cthulhu full of great mini-games, or does it follow the video game path and just fall flat? Let's get to the table, see how it plays, then we'll come back for my final thoughts on Rites of Cthulhu. First off, before I start the walkthrough, I just want to let you know that this will not be a comprehensive walkthrough. The game itself consists of 6 mini-games, and I will not be going through all 6. I'll give an overview of how the game works, then go through one mini-game to give you an idea of what to expect. So here we have the components. There are 6 right cards, which detail how each of the 6 mini-games work. 56 entity cards consisting of 4 suits of cards numbered 0 through 13. And an artifacts deck. Each artifact card will affect the gameplay somehow, and once obtained, can be used by the owner of the artifact in subsequent rites. The basics of the game are outlined on the turn order card, and will be followed for all the rites, or mini-games that you play during the game. Firstly, you will need to identify the first Grand Cultist, and at the beginning of the game, this is just randomized, and throughout the game, the Grand Cultist will just rotate around the table. At the start of each rite, you're going to deal out 5 cards to each player. The Grand Cultists will consult their hands and determine which of the rites they wish to invoke. During each rite, the Grand Cultists will also get a privilege, and it is unique to each rite. These are outlined on the rites themselves, and I'll get into these a little bit when I talk about the rite that I do the walkthrough for. Now, once the rite has been decided, an artifact card is turned over and its effects are applied. And once that is complete, you will play the minigame, and whoever wins the minigame will get the artifact, which is worth a certain number of points at the end of the game. Now, the last of the basic rules is the power combinations. At any time during the game, if you have a certain combination of cards of the same suit, you can invoke a power play. If you play a 0 and 1 of the same suit, this allows you to draw an additional artifact card and add it to the current one, thus making more points up for grabs during the current rite. A 0 and 13 of the same suit will abort the current game with no winner, you'll discard the current artifact cards, and you'll become the new Grand Cultist and restart the round. A 0, 1, and 13 of the same suit will allow you to steal the artifact that is currently up for contention. You'll replace it with the top card from the artifacts deck and invoke the new artifact's power. Now, once the appropriate rounds have been completed, and this will depend on the number of players, players will add up the total points from the artifact cards that they've won, and whomever has the most points is the winner. Now, let's have a look at one of the minigames. And we're going to be using Out of the Aeons as an example. So why don't we set this game up? Now, once the rite is picked, you go through the setup on the back of the rites cards. For this rite, all the players' cards have been returned, and we set up a deck as outlined on the rite card. We removed all the yellow board entity cards, that is the Brotherhood of the King suit, and dealt out the appropriate number of cards to each player. Next, we will apply the chosen artifacts ability. In this case, it's the Silver Key, which causes each player to pass 2 cards to the player on the right, and now we are ready to go. Now, the point of this mini-game is a basic bidding mechanism. We're going to turn over the top card of the Brotherhood deck and bid on it using the cards from our hand. The highest card value wins the Brotherhood card. Now, our bid cards are discarded and we turn over the next Brotherhood card and repeat until all Brotherhood cards are gone. If there is ever a tie for the highest card, the Brotherhood card is discarded and nobody wins that round. If the players have no bid cards remaining but there are Brotherhood cards remaining, the Brotherhood cards are discarded and the round ends. The privilege of the Grand Cultist in this minigame allows the Grand Cultist to discard the card that is up for auction before anyone has a chance to bid on it. Now, at the end of the round, the players will add up the values of each of their 1 Brotherhood cards, noting that the 0 card of the Brotherhood suit will double another card that the player has won, and whomever has the most points will win the artifact. Once this round is over, the Grand Cultist roll moves around the table and a new rite begins. Now, this will continue until the appropriate number of rites has been completed. Then the players add their values from all the 1 artifacts, and the player with the most points is the winner. Now let's get back to the table to see what I thought about Rites of Cthulhu.
What do I think about Rites of Cthulhu? Well, I think I should start with the theme and components, as this is something positive I can say about the game. Now, I thought they did a good job of mixing the art with the Cthulhu mythos. I mean, if you look at the rites cards themselves, I thought they did a good job of the picture kind of represents the story that it tells. Even the gameplay itself, the game ideas, are somewhat connected to the stories. Now, I did enjoy the art in this game. If you look at the entity cards, every single entity card is different. I thought that was great. You know, these are unique, and I like the art on this. Similarly, the art of the artifact cards are, again, they are high quality. Now, maybe not everybody likes this art, but I enjoyed it. I also like the way the whole Cthulhu's mythos was tied into the components, from the overarching story of the game to all the components to the gameplay. I must give them credit for that, but it does bring up the gameplay. And unfortunately, this is where the game completely falters and falls flat for me. The mini-games were just too simplistic. Now, you saw the walkthrough for the Out of Aeon's Right. There are very few meaningful decisions to be made. And the problem continues throughout all the mini-games. They're just uninteresting and simplistic. Now, maybe because I'm a gamer, maybe it's intended to be enjoyed by non-gamers. But going through this rulebook for non-gamers, this is 50 pages long of rules. Yes, it's all broken up to the mini-games, but I can't see any non-gamers sitting down and reading a 50-page rulebook to figure out how to play. Now, the game around the mini-games is probably the highlight of the gameplay, but that's not saying much. Being the Grand Cultist and looking at your cards to figure out which rite would play well with the cards in your hand is a decision to be made, I guess? The artifact cards are equally mundane. Trade cards with other players, draft your cards this round, play with a card face up in front of you, play with the 0 cards as any card, retrieve a card from the discard pile, etc. It's just not interesting. When I first saw the cards, I was impressed, and I just wish they put the same time and effort into the gameplay as they did to all the other components in the box. I really cannot recommend this game to anyone, not even hardcore Cthulhu Mythos fans. Once you get past the pretty cards, there's nothing there. So unfortunately, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.